Alright, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about another building block, or tool, as I like to call it, that we have available to us in programming languages, and that is loops. Now, humans are okay at doing repetitive things. It's not really great for humans, but computers are really good at doing repetitive things, and they can do them very fast. And so the way that we do that in a programming language, to do something over and over again, is called a loop. Okay, we just do it, and then we loop back, and we do it again, we loop back, and we do it again. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to switch over to my screen here, and let's just make sure that you are running XAMPP. So go ahead and run your line of code to boot up your virtual server here on your computer. And once that's running, let's go ahead and go back to our code. And let's create a new file, and we're just going to call this loops.php. And let's open some PHP tags, skip down a few lines, and then let's go ahead and just put a comment here, and we're going to do for loop. So we're going to do a for loop first. A for loop, the way that we do a for loop, let's see. Let's think of a good example. Let's say in class, you decided that you were going to fart on a classmate, and your teacher was like, "That's not acceptable. You stay after school, and I want you to write on the board 100 times that I will not fart on my classmates." Okay, and let's say that she wasn't very smart, and she's like, "You know what? You can just type this out on paper." So what you decide to do is you're like, okay, I can either type this out, and she's like, hey, I also want you to number them so that you're just not copying and pasting, because she's a little smart. But let's figure out a way that we can do this without doing anything crazy. So let's just do a for loop here. So to do a for loop, you type for, and then you put some opening and closing parentheses, and then we're going to put some opening closing curly brackets. And anything that's in this curly bracket, we're going to do over and over again. Okay, so we can't do them over and over though, because that would be considered an infinite loop, and computers will eventually run out of memory. So we can't just keep doing it. So we need to limit that. And in a for loop, the way that we limit that is we go ahead and set up a variable right here inside of this. So we're going to say x is equal to, let's just say 1. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to put a semicolon. And then we're going to say, hey, now we have a condition. So as long as x is less than or equal to 100, keep looping. And then what we need to do is a third parameter here is we need to add something to x. So let's go ahead and do our increment. So we're going to say x plus plus. So what this is going to do is it's going to look in here. It's going to say, okay, it's going to initialize x with a value of 1. And then it's going to say, is x less than or equal to 100? If it is, then it's going to run whatever's inside of this curly brackets. And then when it's done running, it gets down to there, it's going to increment x by 1. So the next time it's going to be 2. So then x is going to equal to 2, and it's going to check, hey, is 2 less than or equal to 100? It is. We'll run this again, and it's going to keep running it. So what we can do is we can say echo, and what we want to do is we're going to do our number. So we're going to echo x to the string, and then we're going to concatenate on a string that has a space, and then it's going to say, I will not fart on my classmates, period. And then we have to close that with a semicolon. So now what this is going to do is this is going to run 100 times because it's going to increment, and eventually x is going to equal 100. And when it equals 100, this is going to say, hey, is x, or it's going to equal 101. Once this gets to x, is it less than or equal to 101? Well, or 100? It's going to say false. So now it's going to jump outside of this and move on with whatever else code you have. Okay, so that's how you stop a loop. So let's go ahead now and navigate to our loops.php. And let's go back and clean this up a little bit. Let's do an echo, and let's echo a break tag right here underneath that. So what we're gonna do is echo this and then a break tag, just so we can easily see this. And now we can scroll down and you see how fast that happens. Let me just refresh. Watch how fast it does that 100 times. Okay, ready? Go. I mean, it didn't even blink. Let me try it again. Let me scroll down here to 100. Ready, set, go. And it scrolled back to the top of the page, but you can't even see how fast that this could do this 100 times, okay? But if you look, it's printing out our variable x here, so that increments each time. And when it gets down to 100, 100 is no longer less than or equal to our 101, and so it doesn't continue to do the loop. So it says, I will not fart on my classmates. Now, I don't know if any of you guys struggled with farting on your classmates when you were kids. I didn't either, but that's just the example that I thought of for some reason. So I don't know what that says about me, if I'm demented or something. But anyhow, so I will not fart on my classmates. Because I don't want to take up so much real estate on our screen, let's go ahead and lower this down to 10 because I want to show a few more examples and I want to leave that. So now this is only going to run 10 times. So that's a for loop, and it's kind of a stupid example, but this is a way for us to do a for loop and do it, and we can do it as many times as we want by setting up these parameters. You set up a variable, you check the variable, do some sort of comparison operator on it, and then you increment it, okay? And if you do all three of those things, this is going to work fabulously. All right, so let's talk about another type of loop that we could do here, and this is a while loop. Okay, so this is a very common. Let me just check something really quick here in my references. I wanted to see basically all the different types of loops that I wanted to loop through and show you guys. So we have a while loop, and a while loop is very similar, except for what I'm going to do is I'm going to set x equal to 0 outside of this loop. And then what you do is you just take while, and then inside of this you do parentheses and then open and closing brackets here. And inside of these parentheses you do your evaluation. So in here I'm just going to say while x is less than let's say 5, while it's less than 5, then I want to do something. Let's just echo x and then also echo a break tag. Now this is going to really make my computer mad. Oops, and I forgot to put this in some quotes here. So let's go now and refresh, and we're gonna see something that is an infinite loop. So now it's just printing and printing and printing. You can see I can't even scroll as much, and this is just running and running and running, and eventually my computer is going to run out of memory. So I'm going to stop that execution, and if you can see, it did it a lot of times in my browser before I stopped it. That will continue on until infinity, or until your computer runs out of memory, and that is a bad thing. And the reason that happened is because we don't have anything in this that increments x. So what I want to do is inside the loop here, at the end here, I'm going to go ahead and do x plus plus. And what that's going to do is set this value of x to, at the end of this, it'll set it to 1. And now if we go back and refresh, now we can see we're just printing 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 to the screen. Now, the reason that it's 0, because the first time it runs, this is 0, and 0 is less than 5. So when we get up to 5, see we're incrementing at the end of this loop, when we get up to that, x is not going to be less than 5 if it is 5. So we're not ever going to reach 5. Okay, so it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's a while loop, and a while loop just says, hey, while whatever this is in here evaluates to true, just keep doing it. So it's just a different way of writing a loop than a for loop. Okay, so in this way you have to usually set up the iterator outside or I'm sorry, not the iterator. Well, they call it an iterator sometimes, but basically you're setting up some sort of counter outside of the loop. And then inside of the loop, you're incrementing that and doing some sort of evaluation. And as long as that's true, you're going to print that out to the screen. Let me show you one more here, and this is very similar. This is called do while, a do while loop. And a do while loop is pretty cool because it allows us to, let's see. Let me check something here. Okay. A do while is pretty interesting because like sometimes you run a loop and this evaluation that you run inside here, now we're just doing very simple evaluations, but sometimes this won't be equal to anything and you still might want to do whatever's inside the loop one time. So a do while allows us to do that. So we just type do, and then we're going to put some open and closing brackets, and then down here we're going to type while, and we're going to put some open and closing parentheses here. And above this, I'm going to set x equal to 10. And what I want to be able to do here is inside of here, I want to say as long as x is less than 9, let's just make it super obvious, then I want to do something. Well, in this do while loop, if we put here, I'm going to say echo, and I'm just going to echo do while, and then we'll also echo a break tag just to give us a new line. And then what we'll do is increment x at the end of there. So the way this do while works is it's going to hit this do, and before it does any check, it's going to do everything in here one time. And then it's going to check this while, and if this while evaluates to true, it's going to do it again. It's going to keep doing it until this no longer evaluates to true, but it will always do it one time. So if you need a loop that always happens once, but may happen more than that, then a do while is where it's at. So let's go ahead and refresh this. And now you can see that it just printed do while one time. But what happens now if I lower this to 1? And we refresh. Well, now it says do while, do while, do while, do while. So it does it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And that's to be expected because this is 1 and it increments it each time. And so it's only going to do that 8 times because if it gets up to 9, 9 is not less than 9. It is equal to 9. So this would evaluate to false as soon as x reaches 9. So I'll put this back to 10 in the code example just to show you that it will do this at least one time, and as long as it evaluates to that, it will do it, and then it'll continue on like a normal while loop after that. So it does the check here like this. So this is a do while loop, but those are pretty neat. To be honest with you, I actually haven't had too many use cases to use this, and I'm usually really excited when I come up to a use case in my code that I need to use a do while loop. And it does happen, but oftentimes you're just using while or for loops. Okay, I'm going to show you something else, and there's another type of loop here that's called for each. Okay, now a for each loop, what it does is it iterates over an array. And we haven't talked about arrays really yet, but I did mention them briefly, and we're going to build out an array just to show you what a for each loop does. But we're going to come back to arrays much later and we'll revisit this. But I do want to do a for each loop since we're talking about loops. So what I need to do is set up an array. So I'm going to create a variable called favorite colors. You know what, or just we'll call it colors. And I'm going to set that equal to an array by using an open and closing square brackets here. That's one syntax. And I'm just going to go ahead and inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and do a list of colors. I don't know how many I'm going to be able to think of. turquoise. I don't know if that's how you spell turquoise, but we'll try it. Red, orange, blue, green, purple, turquoise, pink, and let's do one more. See if I can think of another color. I'm on the spot here. Red, orange, blue, green, purple, turquoise, pink. How about aqua? That's, I don't know. That's just what I can think of right now. Let's try a different one. Let's do cyan. I like cyan a lot. All right, so if I refresh that, now we have an array. And just to show you, let's just do a var dump. And we'll do colors. And what this is going to do is print to the screen that it's an array. Okay, so we have this array, and it has 8 elements inside of that array. And all of those elements are strings. And each one of those elements are the colors that we put in there. So we can get rid of that var dump. I just want to show you that var dumps work with colors. But now let's do a loop, and let's just say for each one of these elements inside of this array, I want to do something. So what you can do, and this is really cool, we can just type for each, and then we'll do opening and closing parentheses here, and then put our square brackets. And for each color, so what we do is we say for each colors, and then we say as color. Okay, what this is going to do is it's going to loop through this array, and each time it's going through there, it's going to set the value or the element equal to this. So we could call this anything we want, but we're going to call this color just with a single, because each time it runs, it's just going to do this. So then we're going to say echo, and then we're going to say color, and then we'll just concatenate on is a good color, period. And then we'll echo out a break tag. All right, so if I save that now and we go back and refresh, now it says red is a good color, orange is a good color, blue is a good color. And notice we don't have an infinite loop here because the for each, it's going off this array, so it's not ever going to be an infinite loop because it's just doing something for each element in this array. Okay, so each element in this array, it's only going to do that 8 times because we had 8 things in this array. So it's going to loop 8 times, and it's going to print to the screen whatever or do whatever we want to do. It'll do that for each element, and we have access inside of this to that element because we set it as that variable. So it loops through the let's just go through this again. A for each loop takes an array, and then as this is a value. So for each iteration that it goes through the loop, it's taking one of these. So the first time it runs through, this is going to be set to red. The next time it runs through, it's going to be set to orange, and then it's going to be set to blue, and it'll do whatever code's in there, and then it'll set it to green and then do whatever code, and so on and so forth until it gets to cyan. It'll set it to cyan, run it, and then it's going to say, okay, there's no more elements in this array, so it will then move on. It will not do anything else. So again, these are all really stupid examples, and you may not do this, but I think it illustrates really well some of the different loops that we could do in PHP, which are the for loop, the while loop, the do while loop, and the for each loop. You're going to find yourself using all of these quite often, with the exception of you probably won't do a do while loop that often, but just remember that it is an option and it's there because it may come up at some point. All right, so that's loops. I hope you see that computers are really good at doing something over and over again. And so if you have a task that you need to do a bunch of times, you'll use a loop. All right, so in the next video, we're going to continue to learn more building blocks inside our programming language, and I will see you there as soon as I get to OBS to shut it down. Peace out.